Morning students, welcome to Ekam IAS Academy. Yesterday we had covered certain important chapters related to our economic survey, especially the state of the economy and the fiscal developments. What all we will try to quickly review what all we have covered yesterday. Anybody? What all we have covered yesterday? Okay, what we covered in the state of the economy? Okay. Okay. India adopted which strategy? Okay. Yeah, you keep an eye on the high frequency indicators. Based on the performance of the high frequency indicators, you try to release supply. That's one important dimension. What else we spoke about? Foreign trade. We spoke about something related to foreign trade yesterday, no? Buoyancy of the tax. The tax collection buoyancy we spoke about. What was the tax collection buoyancy? When we say tax collection is buoyant, if the rate of percentage increase in the tax collection is more than the rate of percentage of increase in the GDP output. So that is called, that is a situation when we call it the tax is buoyant, right? Along with tax buoyancy, I suggest you also read about tax elasticity. Tax elasticity, very, very important. You need to understand the difference. It's very simple. You can go back home and Google it. One more important dimension, we spoke about the IMF, in which it is trying to give a world economic outlook. In this world economic outlook, what did IMF said? What is the growth rate of India in the next 3 years? 22, 23, it would be around 9% each, and then it would be 7.1%. So it means India would become the fastest growing economy in the world in the next 3 years. All the 3 years, India would be the fastest growing economy in the world. So what is the sign here? The sign is very simple. You will get more and more investment because the investors' confidence in the economy will improve. That is the reason how you will get more and more funds, right? One more important dimension we covered yesterday, related to World Bank, about World Bank giving funds for the various countries. I spoke yesterday, the basic difference between World Bank and IMF. World Bank is a bank that is primarily meant for giving concessional loans for developmental purposes. Concessional loans for developmental purposes. But however, IMF gives commercial loans. Now it is giving what rate of loans? It is giving commercial grade of loans, whereas World Bank provides you developmental loans, that is at a very highly concessional rates. That is the role of World Bank now. It is said that this one country has immensely benefited from the World Bank. This was the statement given by none other than the ex-US President Donald Trump. He used to tell China as a country has immensely benefited from World Bank. Despite not being a developing economy, it was able to take so much of funds from World Bank, portraying itself as a developing economy, but however, in reality, it is not a developing economy, right? So he says that disproportionately World Bank has benefited from, China has benefited from World Bank. So that was, we all remember what was the clause? When did China join the World Bank League? Anybody? When did China join the World Bank League? When did China join the World Bank League? 2001, 2002. 2001 and 2002. When China joined the World Bank League, China was told, there was a clause. The clause was, over a period of time you will open up your economy and the state control on the economy would decrease. Over a period of time, China would open up its economy and the state control on the economy would reduce. But however, nothing like this happened. That is the reason why the trade war between US and China. You remember what was the genesis of trade war between United States and China? What was the trade war? The trade war was about about what was Trump telling? I will impose additional tariffs on China. Why? Because as per a protocol of accession, what China had signed with World Bank at the time of joining, what China was given 15 years time to reduce the state control over its economy. But however, when this 15 years time was complete in the year 2016-17, that is when Donald Trump said, despite the fact that you were given 15 years of time to open up your economy and also reduce the state control, you failed to do so. That is the reason why whenever I am importing something from you, I will definitely impose tariffs on you. So this tussle between China and US came to be known as the trade war. What will happen if US imposes tariff on China's products? Their products will become non-competitive in the world economy, right? So that is the reason why China was feeling offended, and that is the reason why US was trying to impose the tariffs on the Chinese goods. That was the intention. Okay. One more dimension we spoke yesterday in detail. What was that? Anybody? One more dimension. The GST collections. We spoke about the GST collections. What did we speak about the GST collections yesterday? More than related to the tax buoyancy concept, we spoke about the GST, wherein the GST collections have gone very high in the past few months. What did we say? What is the reason for the GST collections going very high? What is the reason why the GST collections are going high? Come on. We spoke about the tax revenue, non-tax revenues, right? The tax revenues rose primarily because of the GST collections. And why is the GST collections going high? The petrol does not come under GST. Okay, now tell me. After the COVID-19, the trade volumes have increased by many-fold, and the trading in FMCG. What is an FMCG? Come on, you guys are writing prelims after 20 days. Fast moving consumer goods. The fast moving consumer goods trade volumes, and this fast moving consumer goods comes under the ambit of GST. That is the reason why the GST collections have gone up drastically. And in one of the months, that is April month, the GST collection crossed 1.6 lakh crores in the month of April alone. So this is now tell me, is it a good sign or a bad sign? When it is proportionate to the trade volumes, I told you yesterday, India is a consumption-led economy and not an export-driven economy. We are a consumption-led economy. That is the reason why we always see that, because the government taxes the consumption of the consumer. That is the reason why the tax collection would generally be very, very high. But now tell me, is it advisable for the government to raise income from taxes more or non-tax revenue more? What should be the aim of a welfare state? I told you yesterday, India is a welfare state. Now in a welfare state, should the citizens be taxed highly or proportionately or in a reduced percentage? Proportionately, right? So if your tax collection is rising over and over, what is the sign? We are moving away from being a welfare to a capitalistic state. This is when the lower income group gets negatively affected. That is the biggest challenge of this particular dimension. Okay. Now coming back to page number 92, we spoke about the external trade in this progress on trade agreements. What is this progress on trade agreements? See, we spoke about probably in one of our last classes, what are the various kinds of trade agreements that we sign, that a country signs with another country? What is the first stage of trade agreement? What is the first stage of trade agreement? Free trade agreement comes very lately. What is the first stage? When you start engaging with particular state, what do you do first? Firstly, you go and sign the free trade agreement on the day one. What do you do? The sectoral dialogue start. Say for example, India has a product called banana, which India wants to export to a country. You go to a country where that country, say for example, has the FOL, fuel oil and lubricants as one of its major what you call trade products. So when you go, you try to strike a relationship by offering your sectorial strength and trying to take his sectorial strength. So that is how a relationship between two countries starts with sectoral dialogues. When I take this to political this thing, it starts as what? This is the economic what we are talking. This is the political relationship. It will end in what? The political relationship ends in what stage? The political relationship ends in what stage? Before alliance? Before this? ये सब पढ़ाया था, सब चला गया ऊपर से. हाँ? What is before strategic partnership? चलो ऊपर से आओ कम से कम. Before observer status also you are called as a participant, because in observer status you are given the right to give recommendations, but the another party is not duty bound to accept your recommendations. So if this is the case, what is there in between? What is there before strategic partnership? After observer state you give membership. Good. That is, after this you become a full dialogue partner. Then what is there in between full dialogue partner and strategic partnership? Politically. You start about something, somebody said. Then you enter into something known as cross groupings. What is this cross groupings? Where you jointly are part of some other regional grouping or the international grouping. So that is how you finally end up into an alliance. The same way your sectoral dialogue starts. After that what happens? Which is more deeper in engagement? CPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and this is cooperation. So this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, then 4. What is the difference between CPA and CECA? What is the difference between Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement? What is the difference is my question. What is the difference? The primary difference here is you are only concerned with trade here. Here trade comes, investment comes, and here the trade is only in goods. Here trades in services also comes into play, and investments related partnership also comes into play. Nowadays you see that people are adding this word also. Strategic Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So these terms are being loosely used, but technically in the international parlance these terms are not supposed to be used with these, because they reflect more of a political relationship, not economic relationship. In page number 92, progress on trade agreements. During the last few years, India has initiated a trade agreements negotiation and reviewed the existing. With whom? With whom our free trade agreement is pending for a long period of time? Two countries. European Union is pending. One area is European Union. It is pending for a long time. Recently, we've been able to successfully sign a free trade agreement with whom? After so many years of negotiation. And probably what would have speeded up the process of free trade agreement with Australia? The Quad could have speeded up. But now, after the signing of free trade agreement with Australia, what are the challenges that the Indian economy can face? Where Australia can give competition to India? One is dairy sector, the second is, yes, one is the dairy sector, the second is agricultural products. This is the most important area where we might get stiff competition from Australia, especially here wheat production. Australia is known for its quality and quantum of wheat production per acre of land. So that is where one area where we might have problems. Now what is the problem with European Union? What is the problem happening? Where European Union trade negotiations with India are getting stuck? No, not intellectual is the core, though intellectual is one of the issues. It is the sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Agreement on agriculture, याद है? World Trade Organization chapter में sanitary and phytosanitary measures. This is where they are trying to say that the quality standards of India's exports do not match the European Union standards. So on these dimensions they are rejecting our products, right? Next, major schemes and initiatives to boost India's exports. This 8 points is important from the mains perspective. Please make a note here. Definitely a question can come here. One important area here was one of the products which India provided to its what you call industries, which the World Trade Organization has an objection to. What was that scheme? MIES, Merchandise India Export Scheme. Please make a note. These things were in news. Merchandise India Export Scheme. After that came Services India Export Scheme. The merchandise, see, we spoke yesterday about green box, amber box and the blue box. What is the role of blue box? Anybody? What is the role of blue box? What is the role of blue box? Blue box is primarily meant to limit the we know that the Scandinavian countries generally do these kind of what you call limits on the production cycles because they do not want the nature to be disturbed at the cost of economic growth. So they will put restraints on the member countries, industrialists, not to produce more than what is required, and the government will pay to the industries for the loss of their not using their potential to produce whatever they could. So that is how these dimensions comes under the blue box. Now green box and amber box, we know that any support by the government under the green box has a World Trade Organization's also recognition, nobody can object. But anything related to amber box, this comes under the dispute, and the MEIS came under the dispute under the amber box. Why? Because the government gave 2% trade credit receipt. So it was a cash. Will the WTO agree for the cash subsidy? Array, green box subsidies, amber box subsidies. Is cash subsidy not trade distorting? What is trade distorting? Anything that disturbs the international trade, the peaceful conduct of international trade. Your export subsidy, whether it is trade distorting or not. We always tell US, no, your export subsidy to your farmers is trade distorting in nature, right? It means that it disturbs the peaceful conduct of international trade. So when you give cash subsidy, it comes under the amber box. It means that whatever you are doing might disturb the international trade, and the world objected to this, and India had to withdraw this. Hardly 7-8 months news. Finally, India had to withdraw this. So these, please go through these 8 points independently. They are important. See, the third line of the first point says remission of duties and taxes on exported products. In order to boost India's exports, a WTO compliant, please underline this word, WTO compliant, RODTEP scheme is brought into effect from 1st of January 2021 based on the globally accepted principle that taxes and duties should not be exported. This scheme is an improvement over the merchandise export from India scheme. Just read this line, that taxes and duties should not be exported. By giving this trade credit receipt, we are trying to export our taxes. That is the reason why the world objected to this unimportant scheme of India. Okay? Please read through it, very important. One more important scheme as regards the exports India had launched last year. Anybody? Regarding exports, what India has done? Guys, not preparing. One of the important pillars for prelims, economy. If history is weak, accepted. Polity and economy weak, cannot be accepted. Because history is a very vast subject, accepted. Please make a note, write in a box, various initiatives taken by India to enhance its exports in the last 2 years. One, prelims ka bit 100% will come from this domain. Various initiatives initiated by India to enhance its exports. Just see what India is doing there. This will come under the external trade chapter. Government did some hand holding. What was that hand holding? Please find out. What is that? Can you tell more about that? One district, one product. Can you tell more about that? The government will identify what is the productive strength of one particular district of a product and try to give maximum support to that with an intention to make it enable export compliant. That is the intention of that particular scheme. Why? Because most of the products which are produced locally are not of international standards. Because if you have to export something, you need to cross through so many what you call measures that are put in place, especially the quality related measures. And most of the Indian products get rejected on the sanitary and the phytosanitary quality checks. So that is where India created this one district, one product scheme, where we are trying to give what all possible hand holding with respect to quality enrichment of that particular product, so that it becomes international standard compliant and is acceptable worldwide. That is the intention. You also got one product, no? Vizag got one product. Your own state got a product under that. Find out what was that product. Yeah. Next, page number 94, Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti National Master Plan. What is this? Anybody? Gati Shakti. What is that? Infrastructure. Infrastructure is a word. Make a sentence and tell.
It's a monitoring all the ministries.
Yeah. What the Gati Shakti is primarily, see what happens is, Gati Shakti is primarily, see what happens is, generally InterMinisterial Coordination takes a lot of time. So they created a common platform for around 16 ministries where seamless logistical movement can happen without any delays amongst the ministries. See, whenever one project is launched, so many ministries would be involved in that particular project. So it is a common platform for around 16 ministries where anything related to that project can be dealt with. It is like creating a WhatsApp group of 16 ministries to ensure that the logistical movement of goods and services across the sectors can happen without any ministerial hurdles. That is the intention. Something was there related to this only for your economic intelligence also. Something was there related to this in economic intelligence also. We have one organization, FIU India, excellent, Financial Intelligence Unit India. This also coordinates between so many ministries to get information related to economic intelligence in India. Okay, good. Yeah, now come to page number 97. First 96, top 10 import commodities. What is the topmost commodity that we are importing? Petroleum, crude oil, crude petrol, and immediately followed by gold, and then petroleum products, and then comes pearls and coal, coke and briquettes. So till 1 to 5 you should know the seniority. Maybe a match the following will come, right? Don't get confused between crude petrol and the petroleum products. Petroleum products is the third item, crude petrol is the first item. And let me tell you, India is a net exporter of petroleum products. India is a net exporter of petroleum products. So what we import, more than that we export, because the crude oil that we import, we process it and then sell it in the international market as a petroleum product. Okay, so India is a net exporter. Coming to page number 97, this is where are we getting our import sources from? On top is China, followed by UAE and then USA. And when it was export, who was on top? Yesterday we have seen Kal ka bhul gaye. USA followed by UAE, right? So what are we selling to UAE? Gems and jewelry. This is one important area what we are selling to UAE. What are we selling to USA?
Services.
One is services, the other is earlier textiles used to be a major component. Now Bangladesh has completely taken over. What else other than services to USA? What are we selling to USA? क्या बेच रहे हैं? Not much, though it is there. What are we selling to USA? Electronic gadgets we are getting, we are not. The world gets it from China and South Korea. Nobody can sell like them. Yeah, so what are we selling to USA? Yeah, one important area is there was one problem with America when India and American trade. We export, we import, both we do. But there was one problem. What was that problem? When the generalized system of preferences, GSP, याद है कुछ? Generalized system of trade preferences, India was getting some what you call concession when it was trading with United States. Trump came and removed that. Problem was two, Harley Davidson and dairy products. We were importing certain dairy products from America. What Americans do is they feed their cattle with ruminants. What is a ruminant? Small high protein, what you call insects and all. Say they feed their dairy with these kind of ruminants to enhance the dairy production. So India invoked the religious clause of WTO and national sentiment clause of WTO and stopped importing all the dairy products from America, saying that in India the dairy products do not have only consumable value, they have religious value also. Because you are feeding your cattle with ruminants, it is hurting the sentiment of India's belief system, and we will not be importing. This one issue, the second issue was Harley Davidson, which I discussed yesterday. These two issues finally led to America withdrawing that special preference which it was giving to India. Okay? So we are the first 5 importing countries you should be aware. What are we importing from Hong Kong? What are we importing from Hong Kong? Huh? What else? What is Hong Kong as a hub for? IT infrastructure. Hong Kong is a hub for IT infrastructure. So we get lot of IT infrastructure also from Hong Kong. Okay? Come to the trade in services. 98. First table 3 you see. Trade balance in US billion dollars. The most positive trade balance we have with whom? USA. Immediately followed by Bangladesh. This, and the most trade imbalance we have is with China, followed by no Iraq, then Switzerland. We are primarily purchasing gold from Switzerland. That is the reason why we have a high trade imbalance with Switzerland. China, as we all know, the heavy machinery dependency, the medical API dependency, the the entire software dependency, hardware dependency is on China. That is the reason why the trade imbalance is there. Yeah, now trade in services. What is the growth record of India's trade? What is the growth record of India's services trade? 18.4%. The record of trade, the percentage of trade, make a note, and the amount also make a note. It may come as a bit important. The percentage of increase in the services trade and also the amount is very, very important. Now, and what is the most important trade service that we are exporting? The computer services. Para 3.31 first line. The computer services happens to be the most important or the largest exported service in half yearly 1, constituting nearly 49%. Very, very important. And service imports, what are we doing? Service imports, what are we importing in services? Read the paragraph, 4th line. What are we importing in services? What are we making payments for? The business travel. Para 3.33, 4th line. What are we paying for? Business travels and transport and computer services. We are importing as well. We are exporting also. We are importing as well. So please make a note of that. What is this private transfer? 3.35, private transfer. What is this private transfer? In the current account we spoke about yesterday, no? Balance of payment. Current account was there, current account in trade, current account in services. Then we spoke about the interest repayment obligations. Then we spoke about the remittances. The private transfers comes under the heading remittances, private transfers. Why we call it private transfers? Why we call it private transfers? Because it is between two individuals and not between governments. That is the reason why we call it private transfers. And which is the largest country receiving the private transfers in form of remittances? India, closely followed by China, Indonesia and Bangladesh. Closely followed by China, Indonesia and Bangladesh. Okay? But India happens to be, and it is, when I use the word closely, it is very close. India and China is very close. See, why do you generally find lot of Indians taking top positions abroad? Why are Indians making into the top positions abroad? What one quality they possess which other countries are not able to do? You have Japanese doing, equally, brainy guys. You have Chinese also equally brainy guys. You have Germans and French also equally brainy guys. But what is it? One factor that is pushing Indians ahead of others. Thanks to this. This is the primary reason. Not that they are technically inferior to them, but definitely yes, even if a Chinese is very strong, because when you are leading a global giant, you have to interact with most of the world countries. And if you have a communication channel and if you are the head of the organization, that may sound not very good about the organization. That is the reason why these giants prefer Indians as the head of their institutions, right? Yeah, what is this invisible? What is this invisibles? 3.36. Invisible means any trade which is invisible in nature, services. So whenever we call invisible, it is primarily related to services, and the services has the net service. Yesterday we spoke, no, the current account, when we create a current account, we say this is trade in goods, and the trade in services. We said that the trade in goods generally we import more than we export. That is the reason why the balance is always in deficit. Trade deficit. That's what the word we use. Trade deficit. The same way in services we export more than we import. So that is the reason why we have a trade surplus in services. We have a trade deficit in goods. We have a trade surplus in services. This services technically is called invisibles. So it says that on account of higher net services receipts and private transfers, net invisibles were higher at $72 billion in half yearly financial 2022. So this is one important this thing. It is for half yearly period, not complete period. And in the composition of the net invisibles, what is the highest? Whether it is the service, the transfers or income. The highest is the services, then the transfers, then the income. Income on account of, what is this income? This income is on account of the loans and advances that you would have given to other countries. India keeps giving not to Maldives, to Bangladesh, to Bhutan, to Nepal. So they also have a repayment obligation to India, right? So whatever India earns from that, that is entered here. So this, they are calling it invisibles. The remittances, they are calling it private transfers, and the income that we earn from the loans and advances that the government has given them, they are calling it income. On a chronological order, the highest that you have is the trade receivables, that is invisibles, followed by transfers, and lastly is the income. Okay, very important. Yeah, capital account we spoke yesterday. What all constitutes our capital account? Yesterday we spoke, right? What all constitutes our capital account? What is there in the capital account part of the balance of payment? We said first is the investment coming in the form of FDI and FII, right? Then we have the sovereign loans, the government taking loans. Then you have a window called external commercial borrowings. Yes or no? So money is coming in the form of capital inflow into our country. Now when this is happening, what does it mean? That the money is coming only in one direction. When I use the word money, I am saying technically what? Dollar is coming. Now read this paragraph 3.39102. The net capital flows more than triple to $65 billion on the back of continued inflow of foreign investment, rise in loan, mainly external commercial borrowings, bank capital and other capital. What is this bank capital? Anybody? This is also one of these strands here, bank capital. Anybody? Bank capital. Bank capital. By whom? To whom? Our banks are doing something there. Our bank capital. What is capital? Your banks holding assets abroad. Your banks holding assets abroad. You will have a State Bank of India branch in Philippines, no? So what all assets it is holding, what is sending to India as a earning during that year comes under your bank capital. Okay. So this is how the capital account. Now see the capital account balance sheet. Table 7. What does it say? What is the highest percentage? What is the highest percentage? Under, see, A is the highest percentage. A is basically capital account. Then B is what? Balance to GDP ratio, right? So the highest amongst this is the foreign investment, right? This is the highest with 25.4%, and the loans constitute only 10.4%, right? Yeah. Rupee debts is basically the debts of our bankers who also have their debts in the international market. So that has to be compensated for their earnings and their debts, rupee debts. Yeah, now come to 3.41. The foreign investment consists primarily of FDI, FPI and FIIs. Very important. Yeah, come to paragraph, page number 104, BOP balance and the foreign exchange reserves. Yesterday we spoke surplus in the BOP balance, it shows what? The exports are BOP balance. When I say the BOP balance is in surplus, when I put a major this thing here, this is BOP balance of payment, we are in surplus. It means in a particular given period of time, more dollar is coming inside than more dollar going outside. The trade deficit here, though it is large in volume, is getting negated by the high amount of foreign investments that is coming into our country. So that is how we have a balance of payment surplus. We had a balance of payment deficit in only 1 year, that is 1991, when we had a balance of payment crisis, right? After that we did not have. Then it is also speaking about the forex reserves, 633.6 billion. This is one important dimension. What is the advantage of having a high forex reserve? One is your currency gets appreciated. Please try to understand this concept. Currency depreciation and currency appreciation. What is good? Currency depreciation, currency appreciation. Say for example, $1 is equal to 74 rupees is the value. Now $1 is equal to 75 rupees. This is depreciation, currency depreciation with respect to dollar, right? $1 is equal to 73 rupees. This is currency appreciation. Yes or no? Now tell me what is good. But are we an export-led economy? Depending on what type of an economy you are, you can determine what is good for you. But to make, see, nowadays the template of the world economy has shifted to exports as a major segment of economy. A country can be rich in resources and be self-sufficient. In that case, it will not depend on exports as its main this thing of the economy. So if that is the case, appreciation is good. But if you are an export led economy, that is when the depreciation becomes good. That is the reason why China artificially manipulates its currency and depreciates its currency to suit its export led economy. That is the reason why US calls China as currency manipulator. This they do deliberately. It is not done through the market forces of demand and supply. The government will say, I have depreciated my, when did we do depreciation of our economy or currency? In the intervening year between 1991 to 1993, on 2-3 occasions with an intention to boost India's exports, India did what you call market intervention and carried out depreciation of its what you call currency. This depreciation of the currency was recommended by IMF as one of the concepts of Washington Consensus. So we did it under the instructions of IMF. After that we have not done it. The currency depreciation, very important. Come again. Come again. If the remittances, हाँ, if it is depreciate तो good कैसे होगा? कैसे फिर depreciate? अच्छा depreciates बोल रहे हैं, हाँ ठीक. If it appreciates, it is bad. But you have to understand what section of the society, how many people are getting remittance. ठीक है? Don't confuse it with the PPP, purchasing power parity. That is completely different. The PPP concept is completely different. Okay? Yeah. Come to page number 107, net international investment position. India's net international investment position stood at minus 11.3% of the GDP. What does it mean? India is not investing internationally. India is not investing internationally. Minus means it has technically come out of international investments. Okay? External debt. Yesterday we saw whether external debt is more or the internal debt is more. In case of India, the internal debt is much more higher than the external debt. So that is why, whether it is good or bad, it is good sign because the international repayment obligation in terms of dollars would drastically get reduced, right? And it will also boost the economy internally as well, right? Please read this line. What is the second most important? The first most important component of the external debt is what? Commercial borrowings. The largest component of external debt recorded a quarter-over-quarter positive growth. And the next followed by is NRI deposits. Please make a note. In the external debt, the commercial debts borrowings are the highest, immediately followed by the NRI deposits. A question can come in this regard. Just see. Go to the table number 8. Serial number 5. Commercial borrowings. कितना है? 218. And how much is the NRI deposits? Yeah. So total long-term debt of 492. In that NRI and commercial are the maximum. After that comes the, which one is on top? Multilateral borrowing. After that is the multilateral borrowing followed by bilateral borrowing. So this is the sequencing. On top you have the commercial borrowings, external commercial borrowings, then the NRI deposits, then the multilateral borrowing, and lastly the bilateral borrowing. So this is the sequence of your this thing. And the US dollar is, we have what you call taken external debt. 50% of that external debt we have taken in US dollars. Please make a note. 3.55 second line. Very important. This taper tantrum, you can read it. Now come to table number B21, 110 page number. Very important, try to understand this page. The external debt stood at 593. Foreign exchange reserves are 633. External debt to GDP is 20.1. Short term debt to total debt is 43. Concessional debt to total debt is 8.6. Reserves to the total debt is 107. And reserves to short term debt is, and reserves cover of imports is how many months? 14.6 months. Yesterday I told you the import cover by global standards, if it is anywhere between 3 to 3.5 months, it is considered to be adequate enough. But as on December 31st, because the foreign exchange reserves were very high, $633.6 billion, it was around 14.6 months of import cover. It means your foreign exchange reserves were sufficient to cover the import cover of around 14.6 months. Very, very high. Now, tell me, what is the disadvantage of having a very high foreign exchange reserve? What is the disadvantage of having a very high foreign exchange reserve? Disadvantage.
Dollar accumulation will happen.
What is the disadvantage?
Dollar accumulation will happen.
In case of India, it is dollar heavy, so it is susceptible to fluctuations of dollars. Okay, that's one thing. What else? What is the biggest disadvantage of having a very heavy quantum of foreign exchange reserves? Come on, one point. What is the disadvantage? Think. The biggest disadvantage is when you go to World Bank asking for concessional loans. What will bank say? मेरे से ज़्यादा तेरे पास है, ठीक है? Please go and take that money. Don't come to me again. This is one. Secondly, whenever in the international platform you try to pitch yourself as a developing country and seek some concessions, whenever you are trying to pitch yourself as a developing country and seek some concessions, people will say, sir, I have a printout of your foreign reserves, please take this printout and read it properly. Okay? So these are some of the international level challenges. Otherwise, domestic level there is no challenges. See, please read through these tables given from 112 to 116. Try to understand and get some information. What is the message that he is trying to give? But come to table number 6, components of India's balance of payment. This is one important dimension. Merchandise trade balance, just see how much it is, minus 44.4, and invisibles plus how much it is, 34.8, and capital account positive how much it is, 40.1, and within that what all is there? Foreign investment kitna aaya, 13.3, loans 7.6, banking capital 0.4, and other capital is 18.8, and small dimension is your errors and omission, and the foreign exchange reserves increase and decrease is minus 31.2, maybe in that particular ratio, right? So this is the importance of your balance of payment. Now you try to relate the theoretical part of balance of payment with the actual figures on ground. So you will get a complete understanding how the balance of payment opens up in the economic forum. Now very important chapter, monetary management and financial intermediation. We will try to complete this chapter today. Yes.
This chapter is one, what is meant by other chapters? These
there are many other dimensions where we do investments. I told you, no, the country also invests. We also get some, foreign assets, right? So that comes under the other capital. No, bank ka capital, not country, governments. Say SBI has a branch in Philippines is different, or the government has some stakes in Philippines is completely different. So that comes under the other capitals. Okay.
We are only doing good amount. Capital amount, our parliament is 30.3.
But you have to see, you have to understand one dimension, that whenever the money is inflowing, see this other capital, the money is inflowing. Whenever the money is inflowing from outside, which has a repayment obligation linked to it, then there is a problem. It may not be problem today, but in future generations, what happens is, whenever you take big concessional loans, the repayment does not start immediately. The repayment starts 8 years, 10 years down the line. So the current government which may take that loan may not face the heat, but the next government which comes to handle the situation, that may find the heat. So that is the reason why whenever our Ministry of Finance prepares the budget sheet, when the pen is used first on the budget sheet, what they fill in is the foreign repayment obligations. In the export expenditure column, the first item that is filled is foreign repayment obligations, because we do not want to default on our foreign, what you call, sovereignty loans. Chalo. Next, monetary management and financial intermediation. Very, very important. Lot of things have happened. Long-term repo operations, special long-term repo operations, on-track targeted long-term repo operations, variable rate reverse repo auctions to rebalance the liquidity conditions. Anybody who is not clear in the repo rate, reverse repo rate, long-term reverse repo rate? Anybody? Please tell me. What is repo rate? The rate at which? Repo rate, the rate at which? Who lends to whom? Will not get into the technicalities, generic. And when I say reverse repo, where the commercial bank is giving to RBI, then he is speaking about again, but it is not overnight, it is long term. This rate is only for overnight borrowing. I hope you are aware of this. If it is more than overnight borrowing, what is the rate RBI charges? अरे बहुत ही सिंपल सा सवाल है. RBI performs a function of banker to the bank, no? RBI का one of the function is banker to the government, banker to the bank, right? Now if the RBI is banker to the bank, it is giving some loans and advances to the banks, taking adequate liquidity, money and everything. Now I said this is long-term repo, this is normal repo, overnight borrowing. When this window was not there, what was the window, what is the rate at which the RBI is giving long-term loans to commercial bank? Bank rate, right? Excellent. ये तुम लोगों का भगवान मालिक है. हाँ, सुबह लगा के जाना प्रीलिम्स में, ठीक है? Somebody told no कि किस्मत भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होती है, ठीक है? तो सुबह मंदिर मस्जिद जहां पर भी भरोसा है, माथा टेक के जरूर जाना कि बोला सर मैं जो भी लगाऊंगा वही सही आंसर होना चाहिए, बेशक आंसर जो भी है, ठीक है? तभी कुछ हो पाएगा. बेसिक सवाल. Yeah. See, what do you understand by this word? Okay, I'll make it more simple. इसके दो मतलब है. There are two meanings to this word when I say an asset is liquid.
How fast you can fix it?
One is convertibility from fixed asset to current asset or cash, whatever, gold, cash, whatever you call it. The second, when I use the word liquidity, I am talking with respect to availability of money supply in the market. And one of the major tools available with the RBI to control the money supply in the market is monetary policy. And under the monetary policy, what are the various monetary policy tools that the RBI has? Very good. CRR, SLR, very good. Open market operations, very good. Bank rate. These are the four monetary policy tools that the RBI has to control the money supply in the market. The other tool which RBI uses is the liquidity adjustment facility, under which you have repo and the reverse repo, right? So these are the four important tools that the RBI is actually using as part of its monetary policy to control the inflow or outflow of money. Recently, what was increased?
CRR
What was increased? CRR कितना किया अभी बैंक ने? 4.5%. And the repo 4. You will not believe, there was a time when CRR was close to 15% and SLR was close to 40-50%. तो बैंक के पास बचेगा क्या? You getting my point? So now, over a period of time, lot of quantitative easing has happened. It means RBI is now allowing more and more money availability with the banks to trade, to give loans. When they give loans, when they do trade, that is how the growth starts. That is how the growth starts. Now, but what happens when there is too much of money in the market? This brother will come. At the same time, this guy is also responsible to control this, statutorily made responsible. So he will use either of these tools or this particular tool to control, right? Because this is just an overnight borrowing, it may not have that impact the way this will have an impact. You know what you call disturbing any of these figures. CRR 4% से अगर 4.5% the RBI has done, it means lot of money has been taken away from the banks where RBI will not be paying any interest to it. You getting my point? So that is how rechannelizing of money is happening from the market to the Reserve Bank of India, right? Will RBI keep that additional money of 5% with it idle? No. It will invest. It will make money and give it back to government in the form of surplus, not reserves. Reserve transfer एक ही बार हुआ, बार नहीं होगा, ठीक है? In the form of annual surplus. It comes under which heading? Non-tax revenue receipts. अरे connect करो. It comes under the non-tax revenue receipt, the amount of income generated which comes in the form of surpluses, dividends, profits from the public sector undertakings owned by the government. We covered this yesterday, right? Chal. Next.
Sir, increase of CRR leads to the interest rate.
Come again.
So banks will give loans at a high interest.
More than CRR, this has become the benchmark rate now. इसकी वजह से शायद ना हो, but इसकी वजह से जरूर हो, because they will have an excuse that RBI has increased our loan percentage. But technically this is not supposed to be the benchmark interest rate, but over a period of time repo has become the benchmark interest rate, right? So that is the reason why it is happening. Okay? This is primarily not intended increasing this to punish the borrower. This is primarily intended to take out the additional money which is unnecessarily leading for inflation. That is the intention. But when you do this, definitely the customer also gets effect. We spoke about the net non-performing advances, gross non-performing advances, chapter 4, page number 1. Okay. Now the Monetary Policy Committee, monetary developments they are talking about. They can ask the trend. The repo rate which currently stands at 4% is the lowest in the last decade. Is the lowest in the last decade. Repo rate, 4% repo rate is the lowest in the last decade. The May 2020 the policy rates have been on hold along with an accommodative monetary policy. What are the various stances of the monetary policy? What are the various stances of the monetary policy? एक्सपेंशनरी, कॉन्ट्रैक्शनरी, हाँ बोलो और बोलो, जो मन में आया बोलो, यहाँ कौन पूछ रहा है? हाँ, what are the various stances? Monetary policy stance. Very very important. हाँ, कौन बताएगा? I am asking what the stance is. This is repo rate. This is repo rate. The RBI does not change the repo rate. What does it mean? What does it mean? If everything is okay, RBI is also not wanting to disturb the economy. It will maintain a neutral stance where this will not be changed. No change. Now, inflation is going high. Listen, inflation is going high. The RBI what is positive stance? कुछ भी अपनी मर्जी से. हाँ? Accommodative stance. Very good. Because it has to bring neutrality in the economy. Anything which it tries to bring back the neutral position, it is called the accommodative stance of RBI. Say inflation is going down. Listen carefully. Inflation is going down. Say 2%. What is the band? 4% plus or minus 2%. Now the inflation is in the band of 2%. It is about to go below the accepted levels. What will RBI do to the repo rate to make it accommodative? Inflation is going down. Repo rate will be, what will happen if the repo rate is reduced? More money. If the more money comes into the market, yeah. Now, one more important dimension. The question which the world is still trying to answer. Inflation, good
in the limit is good.
Controlled inflation is good.
In the limit.
Somebody said if she is controlled, she is good. Somebody said if she is within the limits, she is good. But nobody has been able to do either of it. Now you tell. How do you define that this percentage of inflation is good? Is there any benchmarking at international level? Inflation, whether it is 1% or 2%, the low income group will get affected.
Like we have different types of inflation.
No, that is various types of inflation. I am not talking about that.
It is going over the 10% level or the
10% तो यार गरीब मर जाएगा बेचारा. हाँ.
that is bad for the economy. When it is within our standards, 4%.
That's what I am saying. What is that within? What is that good figure? 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%. You see that inflation in advanced economies is hardly any percentage, right? So why is it so that in advanced economies the inflation is only 1% and in the emerging economies and developing markets the inflation is generally in the band of 3 to 8%?
Basically, because of currency.
Because the developing economies want to develop, so they are okay with a higher amount of inflation. Why? Because without inflation you cannot attain growth. Advanced economies have already reached that growth levels, so they are very restrictive. The moment the inflation goes high, they immediately stop because they are not bothered much about the growth levels because they have already attained those growth levels. So keeping all this into mind, what India has decided, this is our acceptable inflationary band, we call it. So anything inflation within this, we are okay with that, right? This is the crux of this entire chapter, what I have tried to explain you.
Sir, that one is office policy.
Yeah. Okay. Take. Yeah. One important table, 120, table number 2, monetary aggregates. Please see this. In the monetary aggregates, which is the highest? Monetary aggregates, which is the highest? Bankers deposit with the RBI. ठीक है? The bankers deposit with the RBI is the highest and immediately followed by the reserve money. These are the three topmost features. After that the cash with banks is the most important. ठीक है? Yeah. Money multiplier effect. I hope you are aware. Money multiplier effect. What is money multiplier effect? Anybody? How? By lending the loans. Can anybody explain how the money multiplier effect works? हाँ बशीर आएगा बोर्ड पे. Big process, sir. In one line, if you have to say how the money moves in from M3 to M0, how the money moves in from broad money to reserve money M0, it is what signifies the money multiplier effect. Please read para 4.6. Money multiplier effect measured as a ratio of M3 to M0. M3 stands for your broad money and M0 stands for your reserve money. A bit can be asked as a ratio of what you call money multiplier effect measured as a ratio of M3 to broad money to reserve money. What is broad money? What is reserve money? घर जाके पढ़ लेना. ठीक है? Page number para number 4.8, 122, important for mains. Please do read. Then come to 4.12, 123, page number 123, 4.12. Commercial papers, treasury bills, certificates of deposits. I hope you all aware about the differences. Commercial papers, certificate of deposits and the treasury bills. What is a treasury bill? Short term loan, money generated primarily by By government. Yeah, money generated by the government. Then what is a certificate of deposit? Money generated by the commercial banks by giving certificate of deposits for the money that is kept with them in the form of savings account, right? What is a commercial paper? Money generated by the commercial or corporate entities from the market. With this is primarily intended to create more and more diversified source of working capital generation for the market. Commercial papers, very very important. Vijay Mallya, what you call, raised lot of money by giving commercial papers to people. What is a commercial paper? Say for example, commercial paper. Now say company called ABC, it wants money. We all are in America, it wants money in terms of dollar, right? The one way is to tell its capital shareholders, please give me money. The second way is go to the bank and take a loan. The third way is come to the market and take a loan. Now, depending upon the value of this company in the market, the reputation of this company in the market, the commercial paper's rate of interest is determined. Now tell me, if the reputation is high, very good, the rate of interest that the company will promise to pay will be higher or lower? It will be lower. It will be lower. That is the reason why when Vijay Mallya issued commercial papers, he promised to pay very high rate of interest. There are certain segments of people in the market, they want to take the risk and earn higher interest. They are the people who invested here. Some got their money back, some did not get their money back because they were willing to take the risk. So commercial papers always has that risk element much more higher than the certificate of deposits. Certificates of deposits. Yeah, banking sector, the gross NPS ratio, the net NPS ratio continue to decline. Please read this. Comparative analysis questions will come from here. Come to page number 126, 4.20. Capital adequacy ratio has continued to improve. What does it mean? We spoke yesterday. Capital adequacy ratio is equal to tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital divided by risk weighted assets. Capital adequacy ratio, right? Continued to improve. It means either the nominator was increased or the denominator was reduced, right? The chances of reducing the denominator is very less. It means that the nominator was increased. It means that the government has infused capital. Simple logic. Okay? See this capital conservation buffer, the trend analysis is also very very important. Please make a note of that. The capital adequacy ratio, the trend of the capital adequacy ratio, it is on a yeah, that's why very important. Trend you try to understand. Okay? Yeah. Very important. Come to page number 128. National Asset Reconstruction Company. National Asset Reconstruction Company. Read the first two lines. Various available resolution mechanisms including the IBC, the SARFAESI Act, the Debt Recovery Tribunals, etc. have proved to be useful to certain extent. However, a large stock of legacy NPAs are yet to be resolved. In addition to this, while there are 28 ARCs existing in India, due to limited capitalization and low recoveries from the existing portfolios, they are better placed for acquiring only small value loans. So when somebody asks you, when we already have these asset reconstruction companies, what is the need for going for a National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited? That is when you will tell them, sir, there are around 28 asset reconstruction companies. Our seeing their track record, it is felt that whenever the disturbed asset, if the value of the disturbed asset is lower, they are successful in retrieving that value. But for a high value asset, these asset reconstruction companies have failed to prove that they can get that money back. So with an intention to get the high valued bad debts back into working condition, the National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited has been incorporated. Very, very important. This you should be able to explain.
Sir, can you use the word bad bank?
This they are not talking with respect to bad bank as such. They are not talking this with respect to bad bank. Abhi bad bank ka nothing has come in black and white. Though they have made announcements, couple of things have happened, but nothing moving on ground. Somebody has to come forward to accept a bad bank also. So that is the biggest challenge. Nirmala Sitharaman can say anything about it. But monetary transmission. Yeah, what does it? Word next paragraph. Monetary transmission, page number 129. What is a monetary transmission? हाँ कौन बोलेगा? What is monetary transmission? Come on, faster, faster. आधी बुक भी खत्म नहीं हुई है. हाँ, कितना दिन पढ़ाऊंगा इकोनॉमी? आई डोंट नो. Something that?
Passing on the effect.
Yes, passing on the effect of change in the interest rates, right? Passing on, very good. Passing on the effect of change in interest rates is known as monetary transmission. Say for example, as we told now, the repo rate has been increased to 4.4%. Now, who increased this? RBI increased this repo rate to scheduled commercial banks, for example. Now, scheduled commercial bank without any delay will increase the EMI of customers. Yes or no? Yes or no? So, this transferring of interest rate fluctuation to the end customer is called monetary transmission. Now say for example, RBI says repo rate is 2%. Tomorrow RBI governor gets up and say nothing doing, repo rate 2%. Now the same commercial bank will try to delay to pass on the benefit. The problem here is there is no time band specified. That is the challenge. So the banks are quick enough to pass on the burden, but they are not that quick enough to pass on any advantageous change in the interest rate to the end customer. So this is one of the biggest challenges of RBI to ensure that monetary transmission is as real time as possible, especially when the interest rates are falling, So this entire process is called monetary transmission. Yeah. Come to 4.25. Page number 130. The transmission has been slightly higher in public sector banks than the private sector banks in the overall current monetary easing cycle. It means that the public sector banks are generally quick enough to pass on the benefit. However, the private sector banks are not doing it with that particular vigor. Now, we also spoke about deposit insurance yesterday. Deposit insurance and credit guarantee corporation increased from 1 lakh to 5 lakh rupees. Right? And they also introduced a concept of interim payment. And the timeline has also been decided for the interim payment of 90 days. Very, very important. Please see the box 2, deposit insurance in India. When you come to the last 4-5 points, introduce the interim payments, timeline for interim payments, repayment by banks to the DICGC and timely repayment by the bank to the DICGC, No ceiling on premium. The earlier act had a ceiling of 15 paisa on premium, which has been removed. Now the ceiling on premium will be notified by DICGC with the prior approval of RBI. Since the act came into force, over 1500 crores has been paid to over 1.2 lakh depositors against their claims as of early January 2022. One question is expected from this box for sure. So please read this box carefully. Now they are trying to give credit, how the credit has moved to the various sectors. 4.28, 4.27 you see, non-food bank credit growth remained muted during the pandemic period. Non-food bank credit, it means the entire credit was going towards the food sector. Then the credit to agriculture continued to register robust growth. Then 4.29, services sector credit growth however is yet to recover. 4.30, growth in personal loans improved to double digits. So growth to various sectors, they are giving a comparative analysis. You can see the table 6 also. Okay. Next, box 3, they are talking about the unified payments interface is currently the single largest retail payment system in the country in terms of volumes of transactions, indicating wide acceptance. Very important for prelims. The questions might come. Which is the currently the single largest retail payment systems in the country? So the answer is UPI, Unified Payments Interface. Very, very important. Next, the NBFC sector, the digital payments index in this box 3, last paragraph, the digital payments index. What is this digital payment index? Who captures this digital payments index? The Reserve Bank of India. See the percentages. Index mein the payment enablers getting 25% weightage, the payment infrastructure 10%, demand side, supply side 15%, payment performance 45% and customer centricity is 5%. So please note down this index. The weightage of various variables in this index is also important. A question can come from here, right? Next, the NBFC sector, non-banking financial company. Please make a note here. Make a small box and write difference between a bank and an NBFC. Please make a note, go back home and try to revise. A question can come from there also. Difference between a bank and a non-banking financial company. Make a box where it says that 4.32, industry remained the largest recipient of credit extended by the NBFC, followed by retail loans and services. Please make a important mark. Don't get confused. Here agriculture is not the largest credit getter. So it is the industry. So please make a note. Don't get carried away by it. Agriculture got the least. If you see the figure 17, agriculture got the least. Starting maximum by the industry, followed by the retail loans and services, then other non-food items, and lastly the agriculture and other activities. Very, very minimal amount. So don't get confused here. You will make a mistake. Now, factoring, very important. Box 4. What is factoring? Anybody? What is factoring? Anybody? What is factoring? People go to factory. तो एक्सप्लेन करो. पढ़ के तो नीचे वॉचमैन भी बताएगा. Right, explain me. Say for example, I am an ABC Limited company. I am dealing in computer peripherals. For example, I am dealing in computer peripherals. What I will do? I have, say for example, I have sold 1 crore worth rupees, what you call computer peripherals to ZXY Limited. Now, this guy is not going to pay me immediately. He has taken the goods on loan. So what I will do, I will pledge these 1 crore rupees bill and try to convert this into my own cash, foregoing certain percentage of commission. Okay? Say for example, this guy promised the transaction was effected on 1st of May 2022 and this payment was supposed to be scheduled on 1st of September 2022. But I don't want to wait for these 4 months. I want somebody to take these receivables from me, give me the money and take the money from him on the 1st of September and take some commission in between. I am okay with that because I cannot wait for those 4 months of time for money to come back to me and do another transaction. So for ensuring that my working capital is in running condition, I am ready to forego certain amount of money in the form of commission to somebody. And there is a high probability that this idiot may not pay me on that date also. So that risk is also there. So to ensure that the money, the availability of working capital is not disturbed, people can go for factoring. This kind of business for some reasons has not developed in India. But when you go to markets like United States or European Union, this is one of the most strongly what you call visible market there. But somehow this is not very visible in India. The reason being, one important reason being, most important reason being the delayed litigation. This particular market could not develop much in India. Okay? Yeah. Capital markets. Come to capital markets chapter 138 page number. What is a capital market? कौन बताएगा? What is a capital market? अरे क्या हो गया? What is a capital market is my question.
Money market.
What is the difference between money market and capital market? Question is very simple. What is the difference between money market and capital market? अरे कोई छड़ी लेके आओ यार, ऐसा नहीं चाहिए. हाँ, ओलंपिक्स दौड़ने जा रहे हो 5 तारीख को, ठीक है, और ट्रैक पे गए नहीं एक बार भी. कैपिटल मार्केट का बेसिक लॉजिक क्या है? द बिगेस्ट लॉजिक ऑफ और द where the trading of long-term debt and equity stocks happen. That is your capital market, and money market is short-term. एक गाना है ना, राम जाने, ठीक है. We'll take 5 minutes break. We'll come back again. ठीक है. Insurance sector, pension sector. We'll take 5 minutes break. We'll come back again.